going on, everyone? It's King Tuts Pro. Welcome back to another Final Cut Pro 10 tutorial. In today's video, I'm going to show you 7 music video effects in Final Cut Pro 10 without plugins. This is going to be a UK edition video tutorial on the music effects. So if you guys do like this new style or format that I'm trying out, be sure to hit the like button and comment down below. Alright, so the first effect is going to be the freeze frame stretch transition effect. So I'm going to select the next clip. I'm going to go to edit and add freeze frame. Select the freeze frame and just drag it below the second clip here. I'm then going to trim this clip to match the top clip here. So now when I go through and I disable the top clip, it's just going to continue onto the second clip. From there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the middle clip here, and we're going to create a draw mask. Now I already have my draw mask, so I'm just going to show you what you would do. So you would go into the effects, you would go into masks, you would add the draw mask onto this clip here. And what you would do is you're going to move the playhead at the beginning. You're going to create a couple of keyframes. And what you're going to do is you're going to move the playhead at the beginning, and you're going to go into the draw mask. And from here, you're going to go into control points. You're going to add a keyframe under that. And if you open up the transforms, you're going to add a keyframe next to position and scale. And from there, all you're going to do is just go frame by frame. The subject is getting closer to our camera. What we can do is, once we have our keyframe set in the beginning, we can just scale this up. I mean, skip a couple of frames. So we want to make sure that we're kind of staying within the outline of our subject. And then we can decrease or increase the feather. So I'm going to decrease this inwards a little bit. And from there, that looks good. So I'm going to zoom out to around 50%. I'm going to move this down so you don't see that gap. So now you're going to see that it's kind of zooming up a little bit. And so we're going to go about here, increase the scale a little bit as well. So we're not increasing it too much, but just a little bit to kind of match the speed and the scale of our subject. So something like this here. I think that looks pretty good. So if I push play, it's going to look like that. So now we're going to select the bottom clip. This should be just a still image. We're going to go under the scale here, and we're going to go to scale Y and add a keyframe. And we're going to start this off at 400, just like so. Second to last keyframe on that clip, and we're going to type in 100% and type enter. So now if I push play, it's going to look something like this. From there, we're going to go under the distortion, and we're going to go under the water or underwater and add that onto that as well. So now it's going to look something like this. Go to the mix here, and we're going to have that start at 100%. And we're going to type in, or just hit the keyframe and go one frame to the left, and then move this all the way to 0. So now it kind of goes back to normal, as you can see. And then from there, we're going to go to blur, and we're going to add a directional blur onto that same clip. So now it blurs everything in the background. And then we're going to type in 90 for the angle here, and we're going to increase the amount quite a bit. And again, we're going to add a keyframe under amount, add a keyframe here to whatever that amount is. Go one frame to the left and type in 0 and press enter. So now when I push play, it should all go kind of back like that. So let's move on to the second effect. Alright guys, so the second effect is going to be this super cool kind of a door peephole green screen mask transition. It's a long one, it's a long name, but in short, it's a really cool mask transition. So if I push play, it's gonna look something like this, and I actually created this green screen clip here that you're seeing now because I could not find a single clip like this or a single image. If you guys want to download this green screen clip, I'll have this in the description. That being said, let's jump right into it. First things first, you want to have your video in the timeline that you want to use to transition onto, and I thought this would be a perfect scene or clip for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the green screen video clip. I'm going to drag that right above our media. So what I'm going to do is, because it's a little bit long for our clip, we're going to press Command R, and we're going to trim this down to the length here. So if I push play, it's going to go like this. Perfect. Go to the effects, and I'm going to go to keying, and I'm going to drag this onto our green screen clip. So we're going to drag the keyer onto that, and you're done. So now if I push play, it'll look something like this. And of course, we can make it a little bit more interesting. So we're going to select the bottom clip, and I'm going to kind of make it track his face a little bit. It's not in the middle of the frame. So to easily fix that, we're going to go into transformed, or we're going to move the video over to the middle, and then we're going to add a keyframe. So add a keyframe there. I'm going to go about here, and I'm going to move his face back into the middle of that peephole. And once it plays through like this, I want to make sure that this is not being shown like this, because then it's going to kind of show black edges. So just make sure it's kind of like something like that. It's going to go through. I'm going to add another keyframe. Just before that happens, I'm going to create another keyframe. So just hit the plus icon, and then we're going to start this off in the middle. So it's going to look something like this because it's a new shot. And then we're going to go to where he positions right there. So we're going to move this back into the middle as close as you can here. And we're going to type in 0, press enter for the x-axis, y 0, and everything should be there. So now if I push play from the beginning, you have this super simple and straightforward peephole zoom transition. And it's just a little bit different from the original video, of course. I kind of wanted to put my little spin on this. If you guys are liking this video so far, if you guys could hit the like button, that would be awesome. So let's move on to the third effect. Alright guys, so the third effect is going to be the newspaper freeze frame transition. So I'm going to push play. And it looks just like that. Super clean and simple, and let me show you how to do it. Have two clips, so you're gonna have the clip that's going to transition onto this one here, of course. So I'm gonna go up to edit, I'm gonna go down to add freeze frame. So I'm gonna drag this, trim it down, and bring it over to the left. And I'm gonna trim this down just like that, and trim this one down to about here maybe. And then here, if I push play, it should just go onto this next clip like that seamlessly. And now you're gonna need the newspaper image, and I'll have that linked down in the description. Just save the image. You can use any type of newspaper reference, but just make sure it's in really high quality, increase its scale, and then I'm going to drag this below, and I'm going to trim it down to the same length as the top one. I'm going to go into the effects, masks, and add a draw mask onto our clip here. I'm going to zoom out and make a selection of our subject, and finish it off. There you go, just like that. I'm going to go back to fit, select the newspaper, press Shift Command V, and hit paste. And now if we go to draw mask and we select it, it's going to paste it here. For some reason it makes it small, so we're just going to increase its scale. So just bring this up quite a bit so you can see the background now, and just kind of place this right behind our subject, something like this. And you might have to adjust some points, so just move them over. So once we're happy with our outline, we're going to select both of those clips and we're going to group them, and then now you're going to have a single clip. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go and add another mask. So go into effects, masks, and add a draw mask. Here we're going to zoom out to about 50%. We're going to have our time head around, I don't know, we can go 4 frames in, so 1 2 3 4, or you can do 3 frames. I'm going to do 3, and then I'm going to click here, here, maybe like something like this. Doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to bring these down. You can do a selection like this. You can start at the 3rd frame here. Once we're here, you're going to add a keyframe under control points, and you're going to bring the left side up a little bit like that, as well as the right side. So something like this. So once you have something like kind of like it angled like that, you're gonna go 3 frames over. So 1 2 3. On the 3rd frame, you're gonna go 1 frame to the left. You're gonna add a keyframe and then go 1 frame over to the right, and then you're gonna move the right side of this up. So that way it skips a frame and it doesn't animate in between frames. So once you're here on this frame, we're gonna go 3 frames over to the right again. So 1 2 3, and then go 1 frame over to the left. You're going to add a keyframe, go 1 frame to the right, and then on the left side, we're going to bring this up like that. Here, we're going to go 1 2 3, go 1 frame to the left, add a keyframe, go 1 frame to the right, and then we're going to bring this one up quite a bit. And then we're going to do it one more time, add a keyframe under control points, and then go 1 frame to the right, and then we're going to just move this all the way up, just like that. So now, when we go back and push play, we have this super cool, I don't know, like a newspaper effect, and it looks like it's just transitioning onto the next one. Alright, so the 4th effect is going to be this super cool, kind of like a teleportation zoom transition. So if I push play, we're going to create something like this. Again, no presets or plugins, and it's relatively simple. It can be a little bit tricky if you're not familiar with keyframing, but it shouldn't be too difficult. So with that being said, let's just jump right into it. So in order for this effect to work, you're going to need 2 different scenes that are very similar to each other. There's this scene here where he's lifting up his arm to check the time. And then there's another scene where he does the same exact thing. And if I switch between these 2 clips, they're relatively the same. So in order to begin, what I'm going to do is go into transform, and I'm going to go about 5 frames to the left. So 1 2 3 4 5 6, maybe 6 frames. Add a keyframe, and I'm going to go to the end and go 1 frame to the left. And from here, I'm going to scale this up, and I'm going to position this to around here. So I'm trying to match this clip here, and I'll show you just a second. So I'm going to zoom up quite a bit. So something like this. If I go back, it's going to play like that. And then from here, where it ends is where the next clip has to begin. So we're going to add a keyframe. we're at the beginning of our second clip, and we're going to kind of match that last keyframe from the first video. So we're just going to scale this up something like this, maybe a little bit more, I think. And I'm going to go frame by frame. So I'm just pressing left and right on the arrow key to kind of match those two shots as close as possible. And I'm going to kind of match his middle knuckle to this one here. So I'm going to have to increase the scale a little bit more. So now from there, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames over again. And I'm going to type in 100% for the scale, 0 and under X, 0 under Y, and press enter. So now if I go back, it should kind of look something like this. Now you can leave it like that if you want. It's really simple. But what I want to do is kind of create more of a smooth transition into this shot. Go into blur. I'm going to go under zoom, and I'm going to drag that onto our first clip. So from here, again, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frames over to the left on that first clip. We're going to move this around here, wherever this is going to zoom up. And then from this point, right, second to last keyframe, we're going to change this to variable, and we're going to decrease the amount to about 11. We're going to add a keyframe next to amount, and you can also add one next to center, and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to move the amount to 0. It should look something like this. And from this shot, we're going to just do the same thing. So we're going to click on the second clip. We're going to add another zoom kind of effect. We're going to change the look to variable, and we're going to change this one to 11. We're going to move this back to where this one is at. Okay, and we're going to add a keyframe next to center, add a keyframe next to amount, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to move this back over here. Okay, so if I go frame by frame, I'm going to reposition this to where this is. So like that. That looks good. So at this location right here on this frame, we're going to move the amount to 0. So now when I push play, it's going to look a little bit smoother, okay? And then from this point, what we're going to do is we're going to drag this clip over to the bottom first clip about 5 frames. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, that's good there. Add a mask on top of the first clip. So we're going to go under masks. You're going to go under shape mask and add that on there. From there, you're going to go under shape mask, and you're going to change or move this over to roughly around this area. And this can be anywhere, of course, on your video, but we're going to increase the radius, or make it less actually, increase the curvature, and that looks good, and increase the feather. And I'm going to make this smaller about there. So we're going to invert the mask so that nothing is showing except the inside of that circle. We're going to make this kind of round. We're going to really increase this feather outwards so it's a lot smoother. From there, once we're happy with our settings and our feather, we're going to add a keyframe next to radius, curvature, fill opacity. We're going to add one next to feather, and under transform, we're going to add one next to position. So now we're going to go, again, 5 frames over to the right. So 1, 2, and you can, of course, reposition this if it moves. On that second to last frame, what we're going to do is we're going to increase so under fill opacity on that second to last keyframe, we're going to have this set to about 100%. So we're going to add a keyframe next to that. And then we're going to go 1 frame to the left, and we're just going to slightly decrease the amount as we go. So we're working individually for each one, okay? So we're going to go something like this, and then this one's going to be about like that, and then 0. So now it's going to gradually kind of zoom in. So second to the last keyframe on that first video, have the radius zoom up all the way. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So now if I push play, it looks just like that. You might have to move around and play around with the bottom clip to match up the same scale from this last frame. Other than that, it looks pretty good, and we can adjust the feather a bit more. So we're going to increase the feather as it zooms up. So something like that. So now if I push play, it looks a lot smoother just like that. Let's move on to the 5th effect. Alright guys, so this is the 5th effect, and it's going to be the broken glass transition. So if I push play, it'll look something like this, and it's very, very cool to do. And I'm actually pairing this with the CinePacks glass effects pack. It's not a pack or a preset, it's actually just a video that you overlay on top of your footage. I want to use this as our baseline, so I'm going to go up to edit, I'm going to go down to add freeze frame. As always, trim this down to your desired length, and then from there what I want to do is select our freeze frame and go into effects. We're going to go into masks, add a draw mask, and then from there we're going to drag our second or third clip, and we're going to move that beneath it. We're going to select our clip here, and we're just going to make a selection of one of these smaller clock faces. So we're going to go up to 150%, And you want to make this as precise as possible. So just make a very nice and smooth curve of this. Now, if you're working with like a more rectangular shape, just try and make it, you know, as clean as possible. So I'm gonna do something like this, finish it off like that. We're gonna go to the beginning. We're gonna start this off with a negative feather until you can't see anything. We're gonna add a keyframe and we're gonna go all the way to the end. We're gonna go one frame to the left. And we're just gonna increase this to something like this. So now when I push play, it'll fade like that. All we got to do now is go back to the transform, make sure that the plane is at the beginning, add a keyframe, go to the end of that one, go one frame to the left, and we're just going to scale this all the way up. So we're just going to move the scale here and we're going to position this so it looks something like that. And what I'm doing here is I'm positioning this. If I go to the horizon line, I want to make sure that this circle is in line or in the middle of that. So something like that. And we're just going to increase this all the way until we don't see any of those edges. Now if we go back and we push play, it'll look just like that. What I want to do is add that glass asset. So it's free. I'll have it linked down in the description so you guys can download it. It's going to take you to CinePacks, the website. This video is not sponsored. I imported them here. You have the 3D glass accents and then you have the actual real glass breaking. So I'm going to drag the glass break beneath the mask. You can drag that above if you want, but from there I'm going to trim this down and I'm going to just push play. And you're going to see that nothing happens. So what we're going to have to do is go into blend mode and just change this to lighten screen or linear dodge. I prefer linear dodge. I think it creates nice highlights. So when I push play, it'll break just like that. Let me know what you guys think of this effect down below, and let's move on to the sixth effect. Alright guys, so the sixth effect is going to be this super cool kind of spinning, not spinning, but it's kind of like a shaking transition effect. This is what we're going to be creating. It's really easy to do and it's just so simple. So first things first, you want to have your two clips in the timeline, and I'm going to select this clip here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the end of that first clip and I'm going to add a keyframe. So before I go there and add a keyframe, I'm going to go 5 frames to the left. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then from there, what you're going to do is you're going to add a keyframe next to scale all. And then you're also going to add a keyframe next to position. Now, before doing this, you could also do it by going into transform and adding a keyframe over here. And then from there, on the same keyframe, we're going to scale this up to about, say, 105%. And then from there, we're going to go 1 frame over to the right. And I'm just going to move this a little bit like that. Just kind of moving it ever so slightly, but not too much. And now if we go back and push play, it'll kind of jitter just like that. And then we're going to do the same thing on the second clip. So add a keyframe next to position, go back to transform, press right on the arrow key and move these over so that they look kind of like this. If we go back and we push play, it'll look just like that. Super clean, and just makes it a lot more interesting than just cutting straight to the second shot. Alright guys, so the last and final effect is going to be number 7. So if I go back and I push play, it's going to look something like this, where it kind of splits the screen in half and kind of like does a shake effect. It's very similar to the last one, so let me show you how to do it. First things first, have your video in the timeline, and you want to go to your position where you want to create your effect. Now, you're going to go under transform and under scale all, you're going to have to increase the scale about 115% or so. I want this effect to start around maybe here. So I'm going to press Command B. Here, I'm going to press Command B. So it's going to be about this long. We're going to hold Option, drag upwards to make a copy. And then from there, we're going to go under Effects, Masks, add a draw mask. And then we're going to zoom out to 50%. And we're going to go around this. And from here, hold Shift to make it straight. And then just make sure that this is just around the middle of that video here maybe. From there, because we increase the scale, we can actually go under transform and next to position X, you can actually move this like that. So I'm going to go to the beginning, add a keyframe and go 1, 2, 3 maybe, 3 frames, and then move this over to the right. So now if we go back and push play, it'll kind of create a nice split screen, and then we can do the same thing. So go to the end, 1, 2, 3 keyframes to the left, add a keyframe, go back to the end and type in 0 and press enter. So now when we push play, it'll go back like that. Now to create the jitter, select both of those clips, group them. I'm going to name this final edit. And then from there, what we can do is click on the first clip before that one, go about 3 frames, so 1, 2, 3. Actually, let's do 2, so 1, 2. I want to go to transform. We're going to add a keyframe. From there, we're going to just move this over to the left. On the right, on the other keyframe, we're going to move this down like that. So now when we go back and push play, it'll create a very quick jitter. So from there, we're going to select the actual main clip, and we're going to add another keyframe. So add keyframe there, and then we're just going to move this one again. So just shift it like that. And one more time. Here we can go and type in 0 and 0 for the y-axis. So now when we go back and push play, you create this super smooth effect. And then the same thing for the end. So if you want it to kind of jitter out, all you got to do is select the middle clip, and then we're going to go to transform. We're going to go 3 frames to the left, so 1, 2, 3. Add a keyframe, and then go 1 frame over to the right. And we're going to shift this over one more time, and perfect. So now when we go back and push play, it'll look like that. And then we're going to do the same thing for the third clip. So add a keyframe. Here we're going to start this off jittery. So again, there, and then on this one, we can type in 0 and 0 for the y-axis. So now when we go back and push play, it goes back and it jitters back in place. So super cool effect. And you can do some really cool and interesting shots like this. So yeah, so if you guys found this tutorial helpful whatsoever, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, and let me know down in the comment section below what other type of genre of music you want me to create effects for in terms of top 7 or 6 effects. Let me know with a like, also by hitting the bell notification every time I release a new video.